Okay. So we're talking about life. Life, depending on where you're from. I'm from Pike County. Anyway,
You are absolutely not from Pike. But that's another podcast.
Lexington, Kentucky. Bars. Anyway, so life. We got into life, I think, in the last part of the depression topic that we're talking about. I think, what do you think about life? You know, what do you think is the essence of life? Because that seems to be kind of one of those type of things where, you know, hey, I'm alive, but am I really alive? You know, what is life?
I think life is, so this is off the top of my head. I have not rehearsed this.
Straight from the dome, you know what I'm
Straight
saying?
from the dome. I think life is taking a series of risks in the season that you are in your life.
Mm.
And so I've been thinking a lot about seasons. It's probably because at the time of the recording of this podcast, we are at the close of one season and looking at the beginning of the next season. And so me being the guy that I am, I'm always thinking about what that means, right? I try to look at original intent. And so, right, we have incandescent light bulbs, and most of us are not farmers. We don't do agrarian work. And so it is easy to ignore how it used to be. But it used to be that you worked all summer, you wound down in the fall, you harvested, you stored up, and then you prepared for the winter. And then, you know, in the winter, you spend time with your wife, and you were educating your children, you were resting, maybe fasting, right? That would have been a great time to fast because you want to preserve the food that you have all winter. And then spring comes, the harvest, and then you're ramping back up. And so I think of life as a series of phases. And so what, you know, for me, an important question is, what phase am I at now? And then am I taking risks, or am I challenging myself to be my highest and my best in my current phase? And so not trying to live like a 20-year-old, right, in my 40s, or, you know, or a teenager in my 50s, you know, just, but
Right.
For where I am, right, how can I make myself uncomfortable in a positive and healthy way? For me, that's the definition of life. Right. My coach said, I'll add this and then I'm going to move on. But my coach said something that I thought was really profound, and he's been hitting this hard for about 3 days. He said, he and his wife, they said, what happens when you don't reach a goal? And then they said, right, they listened to the silence in the room, and they said nothing, because you had no accountability. And so you want to have a good accountability partner, and you want to lay something on the line so that you have more incentive to reach your goal, right? More incentive to meet the challenge, because it's going to cost you something. So what if you had to give somebody $100 if you didn't go to the gym 4 days this week? Right. And I was like, come on. Now, right, I was feeling relatively good about that because I was pushing for 5 days. But right, that life is accountability. I think a healthy life is accountability and challenge.
Yeah.
Not just secretly setting goals in your mind, but living out loud. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's interesting. I think I'm in agreement with that, and I think I'm going to add to it purpose, because we were talking about this briefly before.
Yep, good ad.
So, purpose, so I think that season and purpose are very, very tightly linked. So,
Yes.
There's a purpose for winter, there's a purpose for spring, there's a purpose for summer, there's a purpose for fall. And once those things end, that's what a true ending actually is. Because it's not necessarily about, you know, like, dying or whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, your body decays, but your form is still there. It's just transformed into something else that's probably less attractive. So, you know, it's not a matter of, you know, the matter, you know, or the cell ceasing. It's more of a matter of, you know, that matter and things like that, that transforms into something else. The energy is there, but it transforms into something else. Ending and purpose is when something goes into life and death, I think. So I think that once you cease your purpose, I think that's death.
Yes.
That's a real form of it, because you can be alive, but inside of you something has actually kind of died.
Yes.
And we use that language a lot too, saying that this soulless job or this soulless whatever it is. So it's not like I'm speaking completely out of context here. There is a certain acknowledgement that when you are behaving in a way that's without purpose, there's a soullessness attached to it, and it's like, and people say, you're a zombie, you're the Walking Dead, you're living dead.
Yeah.
So when I look at life, I look at something in theater we call the super objective. So I have a theater degree.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
super objective is basically, okay, here's the goal, and the portions of the story in terms of the objective to get to that super objective, or these are the steps that you gotta take to get to this goal. Okay. Now, so you can do all kinds of different things, but it's all in the context of getting to your super objective.
Yes.
So, for example, if you wanted to lose a certain amount of weight, your super objective is to lose maybe 100 pounds, right? Or to be fit. Your super objective might be, to be fit. So you go to the gym and you have objectives and goals, and all those things are feeding you to be physically fit, to you to be 150 pounds and then cut to this level, have this much body mass or have this much muscle mass, etc. Measuring it all out, and laying it on the table.
Yep.
So when I look at life, I look at also purpose and all the steps you're taking towards the purpose of it. And that's life to me.
Yeah.
Because there's so much potential. People even say things like this: where is the richest place on earth? The graveyard.
Yeah. Miles Monroe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Richest place on earth, graveyard.
Yeah. Because that's where all the dreams died.
Yep. So that's where all the purpose went to.
Yeah.
Never to be reclaimed again. Right? So when we're thinking about life, and maybe in the context even his report on depression, I think those two things are very, very linked closely together. Right? So if life is having purpose and following that purpose, then death is not believing in the purpose that he's giving you. Therefore, you have no future. Therefore, you have nothing. And the only alternative is death.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is, it's so simple.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's a certain thing that we don't want to follow that, because again, following God is scary.
Yeah, it is simple, but it's truth on the biblical scale.
Right.
Right. So, right, New Testament, Paul talks about this a lot. I think he would be considered brutal. He would be considered a fire and brimstone preacher, and if he were alive today, because he makes strong contrast between believing God's report in life, even in the face of depressing circumstances,
Right.
versus not believing God's report in death. So he makes that connection clear and often.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's accurate.
Yeah.
Right? I have to say, I think it's accurate. Either you are doing the things, right, and you're living, or you're doing other things that may be good, that may be honorable even, but are just not, that aren't calling you to purpose.
Right. And you know that.
Yep.
That's the thing about it. The person knows that, and they're trying to figure, it's like something's wrong, something's off, and they carry that through their whole lives.
Yeah.
I heard a story recently about how there was a person that was, he was a dreamer. His son was a dreamer, and this is like a real story too. So, I listened to this guy's testimony. He was talking about how basically he had achieved this dream where, you know, he's a millionaire, multimillionaire, and he got to fly his dad and family out on like a $25,000 vacation, something like that, you know.
Nice.
Stayed at the nicest hotel, ate the finest food.
Come on.
Just treated his dad like a king, you know. And then they got to talking towards the end of the trip. He's like, you know, I was talking to your mother, you know, I'd like to come back out here. You know, I'd like for me to be able to take you out here and we can stay at one of my condos down here. Now, he didn't have a condo. He wasn't a millionaire. But what happened is that his dream, who he was, his purpose began to ignite back inside of him. Those bigger things. Now, I'm not saying that your dream is equated to finance. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about, you know, hobnobbing with snobs or whatever it is. I'm not talking about that. What I am saying, though, is that when you have purpose like that, you don't start asking questions about how and what and things like that. You ask questions of why.
Yeah.
And that why pushes you to your very, very limits and beyond, and well beyond that. Because the why is where you want to start. It's a great book from Simon Sinek, I think his name is, talking about start with the why.
Yes.
And it talks about how marketing and purpose and all these type of things, you know, are supposed to ignite you, and it all starts actually with the question of why. Why am I doing this? Why am the age-old questions, right? Yeah. Why am I here? You know, why am I alive? You know, why is I created? All those kind of questions are within that. So there's a purpose inside of all of us, and you need to find that. It's I think it's a necessity, and I think that though, like you're saying too, that you can have a good life, a great life actually, but will you have a right life?
Yes. And a purposeful life is a right life. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And that may cause you to sacrifice a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
But to know peace.
Yeah. So it's like having everything with no peace, having very little with great peace.
Right. Yeah. And this is not necessarily wealth and happiness are not necessarily mutually exclusive.
Right.
But they might be. Right. So the risk is living a purposeful life, right, and not knowing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But being content with the peace of purpose.
Yeah. 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 Because I'm learning that the further you get into your purpose and get outside of the economics of it, get outside the facts, right? The further you get outside of the facts and get into truth in terms of purpose in life, the more, this is amazing, the more the financial aspects of things actually comes to you organically.
Yeah.
Because then, you know, it's not just you anymore, it's you with other people who also believe in you. You start getting that vision from more people, and they want to give, or they want to donate, or they want to whatever, you know, or they want to give you a job, or they want to support you somehow, or they want to, you know, it's life is what's going to actually duplicate something to where it causes more health, wealth, and, you know, other good things. Death is just where it ceases the process.
Yeah.
And that's all that death is. It ceases a process. Life is continuing the process towards more process and greater process and multiplying that constantly. That's what that life actually is. So only purpose can do that, though.
Yeah.
An appropriate purpose. Because if I take a seed, a green bean, and then I threw it at the wall, you know, and put it in the carpet, that's abnormal use of that seed.
Yeah.
Then nothing's gonna happen with that, you know. So we do the same thing though with our own purpose. We try to put ourselves into where our parents want us to be sometimes, right? Or what society expects us to be. Try to put it in that framework, you know, and then wonder why, you know, we don't feel like we're even alive right now, you know. Yeah. So it's planting the thing it's planting the seed in the wrong environment. So no matter how much you cultivate it, it ain't gonna grow.
Yeah, it's good, man.
Okay, I think we can move on then. So all right, so that's going to go ahead and put us into our last topic, and I can see how that actually fits together.
Yeah, it's pretty clear once you look at the puzzle.
Yep. Because God gets a puzzle every single week. It's pretty cool. Which is better than being ugly cool. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and move on to the last topic, which is going to be the Great Inheritance.